I'm definitely going to try and get you to be interested in microbudding. Understand that a bud is the most complex, incredible thing on a plant. Any of these buds that are in here, on and on and on. I'll tell you why I discovered this and then found out the physiology of it 20 years later. Was that my first attempt at budding was with 8,000 seedlings in the ground that I'd planted, and one of them broke. And I thought, oh, that wasn't very good. So I left it. And then it shot, but it shot with 4 shoots. So I thought, that's interesting, so I rubbed them off. I just broke them off. And the next minute there were 10 shoots, and I broke them off. And at the end of the season, I had a lump of callus that big and that thick. And there were 30, 40 buds about to burst, but winter came. And that made me think that that tiny little tip that we talk about a bud is a bit more complicated than I thought. And so I've spent years at Waite Institute working through this, and why I then understood with the Department of Ag before I went to Waite Institute that I did the booklet Microbudding, and that's the one we're going to update. Because I don't think that these, you know, why do you do it this way? Oh, well, because everybody told me. That's tradition, and that's going for hundreds of years, and it's really time that we update it, and I'm a guilty contender for that. So all we're trying to do is to put that very, very small bud. There's 3 sticks per person, by the way, if you get anxious. These buds are good, bad and indifferent, but this might be the bud stick that you're going to have, so you have to make do. And one of the things that's nice about Mother Nature is that she grows leaves. She grows leaves for photosynthesis, and she's not interested in us. She's just trying to grow enough photosynthetic material to provide new shoots, flowers and seed. And then we gobble up the seed. Well, we shouldn't. We should spit it out and plant them. So from that point of view, that leaf is valuable because it protects the bud that's always in the bottom. So whether you know wherever the hell the stick is, it will tell you, oh, that's the right way up, or it isn't. Because when you do a cutting, remember that you always do a tapered top and squared off at the bottom, so you know which way that stick is. Well, you don't need to worry with citrus because you've got that leaf to tell you. And since that leaf's going to have some degree of protection that you want to keep, and you want to put your tape and the sort of the tape that we're now talking about, which Peter has found organised, something that stretches like that, and it's a cold day, so put it in your pocket when you wake up before breakfast, when you go out there, and put it next to your body and get it warm, because this could go to double that length if you got it warm. If I go any more, it'll tear. So just a little thing. Put that in your pocket before you start budding. Okay.
Can I bud in, please?
Yeah, bud in.
When you're not using it, stick it in the fridge, please, in a plastic bag, because it'll deteriorate if you keep it in your shed.
There you are, a hot shed.
Any shed.
Well, it is heat and it is sunlight. And it's the sunlight that does most of the damage, but it's the temperature that makes it more difficult for us to use it. So that's why I'm saying put it against your body just before you're about to use it, before breakfast, and then it'll have warmed up. The other thing is quickly learn to relax. When I've done so many workshops, and I get like that and to say, "You happy?" Yeah, I'm happy. You've got to be careful. On one of them, I had 10 people. I spent 20 minutes on safety, and everybody listened. And I thought, yeah, now look, and I can see it. Boring, boring. About an hour later, oops, said this person. And then one of my nice people there, Alan Halstead, whom you know, he took her off to hospital, and 10 stitches later she was able to repair and come back, sadly the worse for wear, but that got the message through, and I thanked her sincerely for giving me a good illustration that knives, to work properly, and using your strop to keep them like that, are essential, but they have to be done from a safety. And you're going to hear me talking about this all the time. So if you drop this on Peter's stone, being thoughtless, he should have put a carpet out here, and it wouldn't have hurt the thing, then we'll be able to fix it up for him, because he's got a shiny on one side here, and because this is sharp, you can push this on that, and it now straightens the blade up. Now we want to sharpen it on the other side, the soft side, then you can do that. And you've got a good handle here, and it's quite safe to do it, and that hones it up, and you've lost enough. If you look on a sunny day in here, you see little glints of metal, but micro glints. Put up your hands. Who uses a stone to sharpen their knives? Oh dear. 1, 2, 3, 4. Come on, own up. 4. Well, that's pretty damn good for someone. You're never going to use these stones again, because if you do, you'll finish up with your lovely stone that big. It'll just wear the hell out of it. And it's done nothing but upset the stone and upset you when you've got to buy another one. This should last you and your grandchildren if it's done using this and using the modern diamond hones. These are the tools. Except that sometimes you come along and a person says, I can't do it, I can't do it. I'm saying, you left-handed?
No, I'm right-handed.
Ah, you're using a left-handed knife. That's why you're not doing it properly. So it's very important to ask that question. You see, there's nothing on this. This is the left hand, my knife, left-handed, and the sharpness is only on the other side. So that when we start, which I'm about to do, then I'm going to start breathing. I'm going to start where it's comfortable, and learn to do this and stop being nervous. Just breathe in, sit down, be comfortable, be happy, and then holding your knife like this, you can then put your fingers there, thumb to thumb, so there's no chance. You can get interrupted. Peter walk in and start yapping on, and you're just about to do this. Nothing is going to happen because it's all stuck there. Okay, so then you've got total control to take off the surplus. There's a thorn there and a leaf, but there's a bud behind it. And when you get it there and you've got these thumbs as your backstop, you bring your knife, can you see that? You bring your knife up, right up to the beginning of the blade. In other words, you use that, get it right up to the knife and learn to draw it with your hand. If you start to do this, then make sure you know where the hospital is and have someone around to take you. It's a good way of murdering yourself. When you get to that, you've got nothing here, no angle, it's absolutely flat. And when you then can press it down and come at 45 degree, and you can make, I'm just doing it slowly, 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 and you've got a micro bud, and that micro bud's got lots of things for it. Firstly, if the bud shoots and it breaks off, it'll shoot again, because it's got a endless amount of shooting. You've left a leaf terminal to protect it. You're not too high, so that when you use your stretched plastic, it wraps around it beautifully. And to make that work, we've got a place in our rootstock. Now, this is where you must remember to change your plan, because at this stage you still want 45, the same action, but do a little cut to start with, and then come back and draw you, and you've made the same angle, same 45 degrees, same depth. Now I want to tell you about the physiology of this. The only thing that matters is that the callus formation will come from the edge of that cut, both sides and the bottom. So the smaller you can make this, the better. And having cut this at 45 degrees, I'm trying to get it so that you can see it. I don't know if I can. And while I'm playing around with here, the sap is just making this wet and sticky. I'll do another one. Doesn't matter. It's okay. Cut below, cut above, and you've got yourself a microbud. Now you can have a quick look at that and hand it on. So it's got to travel fast.
Oh, okay.
Anybody want to question this particular part? Have a question?
Why
No.
the 45 degree angle? What?
Because you're 45.
Yeah, okay.
This
So,
is
ergonomic.
it's a natural, it's ergonomic.
Yeah.
And it's down here where you can see it, and it's very easy for you to have a pivot and draw
Yeah.
at that angle.
So it doesn't
Now,
have anything to do with plant
It does, yes, it does have some help,
Okay.
because when you put the bud in,
Yeah.
you push it in, I'm exaggerating now, over to that side. And it gives you a guide and then pushes you down into an edge which is full of development, potential development of callus tissue down the side and across the bottom.
So it's
Now-
called resistance. It basically, it's like a stop as well.
Yes,
Slide.
it's a stop.
Yeah.
And when I did the cut at 45 like this over there, and this is a big thorn, so you know, I would rather not use that because it's pretty tough. There we are. When you do that, I didn't do the bottom deliberately. You can see that there's a whole length of stuff. Oh. So we've got callus tissue growing around there, growing across the bottom. And this is because the flow is coming up around everywhere. But if you look, and you're not perfect, you don't have sap flowing all the way around the bud. So it's to prevent you making mistakes or getting paranoid about having to do a perfect bud for that cut every time, because there's some places, many of them, where it just doesn't match. But if you push it down, it will match, always.
Because it hits the stop. Yep.
And the bareness that's left will soon callus over,
Okay.
and you get the flow continuing on.
What's the best month to do this? What's the best month?
I'm going to Sophie Thompson's next weekend, I think it is, or somewhere there, and I will have a box of mandarins. And for good questions, I'll get a mandarin and throw it at them. I've done this before. And if you're good one of these days, I'll do the same here. But the question precipitates the question, because the question itself indicates a bad question. So say it again. It's important that we hear this.
What is the best month to do the grafting?
What is the best month to do the budding? So January, February, March, April, May, June, July, August, September, October, November, December. So it's on a strip, isn't it? January, February. So last year it was here. This year it's there. The year next it'll be there as it gets hotter and hotter. So January becomes irrelevant. The same with February, March and April. So the question, that is not the question, and I know that what you're going to say is, when is the best time for the plant to put the bud in? No reference other than an amorphous word, time. And then I'll answer the question very clearly. And the clear answer is when the sap flows. In other words, I'm not too worried about the sap in the bud sticks. So I can do this as I did on Friday afternoon at 6 o'clock. And here it is. And if I wanted buds, I'd be quite happy to take buds off these sticks and put them in, and I know they'll take. However, I would be very unhappy if there is no sap flow in the rootstock. In other words, if I'm, as I will, cut this open and there's no sap flow, you will see it. You will see it glistening. In a bigger stock, you'll see it actually being wet, and you can feel it wet too. So it's when it's growing. Now, I'm telling you physiologically, what has been happening is that down here, the roots have started moving because you fertilised the plant. I'm thinking about trees now, not out in the field. And the roots have triggered apical dominance. And so this is not a good thing here now, because what it will do is start putting shoots here and getting apical dominance again. So I left that deliberately to give you an idea of, don't get too anxious on here, because the sap doesn't necessarily do that. It says that's a waste of time. A bud here will start shooting. You've seen it, and that's because you didn't manage it. Now, on that sap flow, that's callus tissue is where it's going to go. And so if you've got your bud in there and it's wet and you tie it in, then you share in the sap flow immediately, that minute. Not tomorrow, not 1 hour's time, it will be too late. So the timing of your budding, to be sure of it, is there sap flow? When I cut into here, look at like that. See, bark's not moving. Bark's dry. Absolutely hopeless. You're wasting your time. How'd you go with your budding? I put 50 in, I did exactly what you said, and none of them took. You know, remember the sap flow? Oh, God, I forgot about that. So, back to fertilising, and I'm not going to go into that, but if you're not fertilising and getting sap flow, you're not in any shape or form likely to get any success with your budding. Does that answer the... Okay. Any more questions about that? It's a vital question, and I would have given you a mandarin for precipitating it because they didn't ask. Go on.
What?
I thought you were going to say something.
No, I'm just sorry I didn't get a mandarin.
Okay, yes, I know.
And that being the main concern, that...
Who's talking? Someone's talking. Sorry, and then your name.
So when the sap flow is the primary sort of criterion,
Yes.
but are there others to be considered? Warmer weather, for example, or...
No.
So that's the only criteria?
Yeah, absolutely. You can do it in midwinter if you've got it in a, Peter had some beautiful little poly houses here, and he's got the sun here, and it's cold as hell with that breeze, but in underneath that. Oh, and another example, Kate and I have been talking with the things I told you I'm going to be doing with the budding and stuff, and she bought some little plastic cloches, so to speak, and stuck it on top of an 8-inch pot. And when I put my hand on it yesterday, it was like it was heated. And it was a cold day. But if I was in a little heated area and it's cold and wintry, I would still bud if the sap is flowing. So the answer is yes to your question. Which month? Yes. Now, your question?
Ian, do you subscribe in any way to the theory that budding or grafting, when the moon is in its waxing phase, has a bearing? Does it increase sap flow?
No, that's a lot of rubbish with people that like to believe in the moon.
Right.
It's got nothing to do with physiology. It's completely out of current.
I can quote you, can't I?
Yes, you can quote me. Chapter and verse. Heap of crap. All right?
Awesome.
Okay.
Can I add to that? I've grafted in the middle of winter in July and had success. So
Yes. Yeah, and I know a lot of others that have too. If the sap is flowing, and you can get that, and you will know if you do a few spare extra buds while you're at it. And here's in the book, in my citrus, whatever, Common Sense Citrus, it gives you the timing of the callus tissue. Like in 24 hours from budding, you can actually pull the bud off again. In 48 hours, when you go to look at it again, it gets sticky. Well, it comes off almost like a zip thing. And in 72 hours, you can't get it off at all because the tissues now and the callus tissue have bonded. Now, it just gets more and more until finally, where the bud is, we looked at that bud and I just cut it then, as you saw, and there's nothing else to see. Put a bud in and that's it. However, once you get to the 48 hours, 72 hours, and at that stage you begin to get callus formation, now you're looking for colour. And the colour is that when callus comes out, it's quite bright, pale, neutral colour, almost that colour, a faint. Here's a good on Peter. Peter shocked Kate. We were here a little earlier, and he said, my gall wasps have come out. Look, see the lump there? There's a hole. And poor Kate, whose sight is perfectly normal, she had a look and she said, I need a magnifying glass to see how small that hole really is. You need those sort of microscopic observations to see when the first bit of callus starts to develop. You should have a grin on your head, on your face then, because you're waiting for the callus will fill the cut space, because your bud wasn't quite as big and there's a little bit of space. That will cover over, come against the bud there, but the sap is fixing this side. And at the side, when you get that callus formation complete, then you're going to cut the top off. Now, I'm going to be jumping around because we've got a shortness of time. What I've said in an earlier comment is that this is a stick that I've used for generations. I have, for different varieties or different rootstocks, put in a piece of wire there just to get me a higher level depending on when I'm doing it, if the tree might be quite big. But you shouldn't be budding lower than that, because then you have these beautiful models for me. Thank you very much, the idiot that did this budding in the nursery or grafting. There's the rootstock, there's the top, and look at the diameter of the top, and look at the diameter of the rootstock. And there was never any compatibility, and the person made it had to be a male, didn't it? Made it even more incompatible by putting the connection, graft or bud, right against the rootstock, right against there. And so it was influenced by the root crown, which is all sitting right here. And as this crown comes up, sitting there, and the next minute, over a period of a few years, you've got a tree and it's a waste of time, right? So please, this is very important. It's not just because I think it's beautiful and you should do this and it'll all just fit nicely. That's a load of crap too, like the phases of the moon. That height is halfway between you and the crown and the rootstock. The two crowns, the root crown and the top crown. And if you're shot a little bit for thing, you still put it in the middle. But for God's sake, the nurseries these days are pushed by tin sheds to deliver on time at a price, and they're cutting corners. So as soon as the seedling gets up to be about this big, they stick a bud in there, and it's that far from the rootstock, and it's this far from the top. And I can tell you the number of phone calls I get and emails with photographs showing the result of that, and those sort of lumps like that are happening all the time because they ignored the physiology behind balancing the influence of the rootstock and the influence of the crown. Halfway, always. All right? To make quite sure that when we're dealing with small trees, and if you're feeling a little uncomfortable with yourself, I'm not quite sure whether I could be 100% perfect. What I'm going to suggest is get yourself a stick and measure this distance and put 2 buds in. I've got arrows on this. So there's the bud you should be doing for this one. Well, why don't you match that up? There's the bud. And you put that bud on this side. Then you put another bud up here on that side. And that's what I'm going to be doing in future. 2 buds, micro buds. It's dead easy to do that, and it doesn't take much time. But then if one fails, you've got the backup. Now, let's assume that this stake is where the second bud was, and we've got the callus that we've talked about grown round your bud, your 2 buds, and you want to cut it off, then you definitely need to think about, here's the arrow again, using that, and cut this off at this height, leaving a short piece of rootstock above the top bud. Now, when you've done that, you don't want these to shoot because that's apical dominance now, not up there. These are all going to shoot, no rootstock shoot. So that's when you use your budding knife, wherever, and then just pare it off. It'll be 1, 2 or 3 buds. Just shave them right back. Don't break them off because now you'll have 10 shoots. But cut them off. 45 degrees again, safety. Put your hands there safely. Here's my fingers, safely. And then you just shave it off and it drops off. So it's just... And it's sticking up here. Use your imagination for a bud there, and you've got your last bud down here somewhere, and you just do it like that and just take it off. Now nothing's going to come there because the callus tissue is going to have to work like hell to seal the cut right at the apex. However, below it is a bud, and what does the plant want to do? Throw a shoot. So we're working with the plant.
And was this 48 hours after budding, or did you say longer? Because before you mentioned that you want callus before you chop it off.
Yes, wait until you see the callus tissue around the whole of the bud. Mm-hmm. Now that might be in the case of doing it in the winter time, a bit longer.
Yeah.
But if you've got a shade house, it probably isn't.
Yeah.
So you wait for the size of the rootstock, because we're dealing with Clio up to Carrizo, even sour orange is stronger growing. So I can't put a figure, but I can say in every case, bar none, callus.
Callus first.
When the callus is, that's the message.
Yep.
Then you can cut the top off.
Ian, the bud is going to be covered by paraffin,
Yes.
which might make it a bit difficult to see the callus. So would you do a sample one in a batch without covering the whole thing?
See, I'd throw a mandarin at her at this stage.
That was pretty clever.
That's a good question, isn't it? That means that you have to develop patience. But if you're impatient, don't touch it for at least 3 or 4 days. And then at that stage you can take it off. And then for the price, of that, you can just put it back again. All right? Your curiosity is satisfied. Yes, I can see the callus is beginning, but not complete. And where will it be not complete? The piece that wasn't covered by the bud. That's the part that will take longer because it's got a bigger space to cover. Yeah.
This question of sap flow.
Yes.
Are we in control of that, or can influence that by as we fertilise? Presumably, sap flow is going to respond to fertilisation.
I'd throw him 2 mandarins for that. He doesn't have to say any more. That's a vital question. The question of sap flow and inducing it. You know that I built on about C. mungus, don't I? And why do I, if I'm pushed, it's only got 4% nitrogen. It's a maintenance monthly dressing and it's safe. You can overdo it, it's safe. But if you've got seedlings that you forgot to fertilise, my God, and I've just put the buds in and I want to give it an injection, then use gigantic. Because gigantic has 7% nitrogen. Hell of a lot more than C. mungus. And you can give it a boost and catch up. But you've got to keep that sap flow flowing. You could use liquid C. mungus every week to 10 days. And, you know, I'm always beefing on about organic. And the person that says to me, well, I get it with sulphate of ammonia, and I'll just say, well, there's no hope for you.
Got another one.
Right.
In Common Sense Citrus, you also talk about top graft or a mini graft as opposed to a micro bud. Mm-hmm. And in that case, you are topping your stock, and so it's what, more or less wham bam. You don't need to worry about it. Come back to it, as opposed to this, which needs further attention.
2 mandarins for you. The smallest grafting that I've done was training a research graduate at the Department of Ag, New South Wales, when they wanted to do indexing for virus checking and so on. And they want to do it quickly, as soon as possible. So when the rootstock that would index or indicate that this new bud you're going to put in is infected, you want to get there as quickly as you can. So they were having no success with this, and they had a new recruit. She was quite bright, and she became my friend for 30 years. She's just retired. And on that basis, I remember the embarrassment that this caused us both, because when I got over there, I was in my 30s, and I brought my knife, which is only the thickness of a hand hacksaw blade. It's half the thickness of a normal budding knife. And so we're doing it closely. He won't mind. There's no intent here. And we're looking at the seedlings, and you just have to hold it like that and just slice it and just cut a little nick down, and you've already got it in your mouth, your little piece of indexed budwood, and you've got to put that in, and then immediately it's going with your little cap over it to keep the humidity going. At this stage she's going red, purple, and she's just frozen up because she's young. She was so embarrassed, and so was I then. But that was one. The next time, a lady, a mature lady, a granny in fact, turned up at the workshop, and I was working there on doing tools as it happened, and she's doing this like I do, and I'm watching her. And my wife of 69 years had trained me to read faces and body images, and I'm watching this is just going, and she's not happy. She's, you know, I just want to bud quandongs, and I'm trying so hard, and her hands are going, and I'm watching this, and I said, have you got your budding knife with you? Yes, she said. She took her handbag out. She was of that era, undid it, pulled out the knife, and I said, could I have a look at the knife? She said, yeah, pointing it to me. I said, safety, you know. And I said, you know what this is? She didn't want to answer. And I said, it's a right-handed knife, and you're left-handed. And I said, here, try this. Let's go out and we'll do some. And of course, immediately, with her quandongs, with a shoot this big out of the quandong, she was able to just cut it, wedge it, put her material in, and it was in the next stage. I said, I think I'd like to come over and have a look at what you're doing. She didn't have a proper misting operation, so we got that fixed. She's still my best friend in that area. But that transformed us. So just a simple art of getting your right tool for the right purpose. These are not suitable for doing micro grafting. Okay. So that's the difference. Or it's just more or less mechanically good eyesight. And I wouldn't be doing that standing up or doing like that. I'd have it on a bench, so I've got my body at ease, and then I'm going to be doing it really close, and even with glasses magnifying. Because tissue culture people now quite often use magnifying glasses, and it really does work, and I've used mine for that too. Can you? This has come from another stem. Can you see there's a little bud there, little bud there, little bud there and there? They're absolutely useless, because when the shoot comes, all the energy that the plant is giving is for apical dominance. And it seems to misses out almost every time. So by all means cut it off so that you can see that that's the bottom, but don't ever use them. They won't take. You want to have a well-developed bud. And I don't care if it's got a thorn on it, but I do care that it's got to have a bud looking at you, whereas this isn't. Okay, so the first thing, I'm using the back of the blade. I'm going to the bud, and I'm looking there, going over the top of the bud, and take the leaf off, leaving the support for it. So now the bud is there.
Right. Right.
So I took the leaf, the petiole off, but I left some of it to support the bud. So then do a 45 cut. Right?
Right, yes, certainly.
And then do another 45 cut.
Right.
And you've got the bud. Now, if you're playing around, you've got things to do.
Put it in your mouth.
It's much better. When I was busy, I'd have little buds here, big buds there, giant buds here, and microscopic buds there, right here. I want that size. I'm not joking, 20 buds in my mouth at a time. So it's more efficient to cut and pop it in, and you're sorting them out while you're cutting the next. We were budding up to, when we got them trained, 6,000 buds a day. And if they got 99%, we had an investigation. What happened? What went wrong? 99% was our absolute bottom level. So, well, I thought the sap was running. Thinking is not reality, and you know, don't do it again. So it's just little bits. So while I'm talking like this, it's drying. No, it's being protected. So while we're playing around, and I want to get in here, and I want to get this away from where I'm going to put the bud, because if I do leave this, apical dominance is going to take, I'm going to take that off. Now, I'm not going to go directly opposite, because sap flow is hitting that and going, I'm exaggerating, going round the corner all the time. So now we've got a clean area here, and I'm coming over to the side.
Is that better?
Fine.
So the 45 cut.
Very nice.
You can see that the bud
Has now been put in there.
has now been put in, and you can see that it's on the side here.
Right, yes.
So the sap will run whatever happens on this side, and you will always have flow, and there will be repair work slower on this side because sap's got to come to here, go around the corner. So I'm trying to cover all bases.
So it's asymmetrical. The thing's not done symmetrically.
No, it's not done symmetrically.
All right.